All right. So we got a news article here. Let's read this. So for those of you that don't know, I'm a scholar. Actually, I am highly educated in sleep. I've done a lot of personal experimentation with sleep in my life. So this story looked interesting, and caught my eye. Because I will hazard a guess that it's about polyphasic sleeping habits. Can medieval sleeping habits fix America's insomnia? The history of first sleep and second sleep holds surprising lessons about pre-industrial life, 21st century anxiety, and the problem with digging for utopia in the past. So let's read this goddamn. At 3 a.m., I'm jolted awake. The room is dark and still. I grab my phone and scan sports scores and Twitter. Still awake. A faceless physician whispers in my mind, to overcome middle-of-the-night insomnia, experts say you ought to get out of bed. I get out of bed. I pour a glass of water and drink it. I go back to bed. Still awake. Perhaps you know the feeling. Like millions of Americans and hundreds of millions of people around the world, I suffer from so-called mid-sleep awakenings that can keep me up for hours. One day, I was researching my nocturnal issues when I discovered a cottage industry of writers and sleep hackers who claim that sleep is a nightmare because of the Industrial Revolution. Of all things, essays in The Guardian, CNN, New York Times, and the New York Times Magazine recommended an old fix for restlessness called segmented sleep. In pre-modern Europe, and perhaps centuries earlier, people routinely went to sleep around nightfall and woke up around midnight, only to go back to sleep a few hours later until morning. They slept sort of like I do. But they were zen about it. Then the hackers claim modernity came along and ruined everything by pressuring everybody to sleep in one big chunk. That's correct, folks. Now, I'm a sleep person. For those of you that don't know, I also engage in lucid dream practices. My dreams are extremely vivid and realistic. I have gotten trapped in my dreams several times. In fact, I had some pretty brutal nightmares this morning. But for me, nightmares are kind of like an action movie because whenever I have a nightmare, I'm pretty much 100% convinced that it's a dream. So I just kind of like let my subconscious troll me, and it's just kind of an experience. So it can be scary at the time, but when I wake up, I'm good to go, and therefore I process the experience in that way as it's happening. But I'm a huge sleep fan. I love to sleep. I love dreaming. I love the dream world. I think that the dream world is one of the most interesting things about human consciousness. And maybe I can go more in depth on that if someone wants me to later. But yes, I'm a dreamer, some could say. The romanticization of pre-industrial sleep fascinated me. It also snapped into a popular template of contemporary internet analysis. If you experience a moment's unpleasance, first blame modern capitalism. Well, yes, that's the duh. And then after you blame modern capitalism, then you blame pre-modern capitalism, and then you blame like, pre-industrial capitalism, and then you blame like, just keep blaming all forms of capitalism, not just the modern one. So I reached out to Raga Eckerch, the historian whose work broke open the field of segmented sleep more than 20 years ago in the 1980s. Eckerch was researching a book about nighttime before the Industrial Revolution. One day in London, wading through public records, he stumbled on references to first sleep and second sleep in a crime report from the 1600s. He had never seen the phrases before. When he broadened his search, he found mentions of first sleep in Italian and French and Latin. He found documentation in Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia and Latin America, which we don't get the fun words in. When sleep was divided into a two-act play, people were creative with how they spent their intermission. They didn't have anxious conversations with imaginary doctors. They actually did something. This is something that I did this for like 6 months in 2020 when I was practicing lucid dream stuff. Is I would wake up, like I would sleep for like 3-4 hours, wake up and take a bunch of supplements that, fuck with your brain to make you dream more. But then I would also walk around. I would spend like an hour and a half usually. Maybe I'd play a video game. Maybe I'd watch some YouTube, and then I'd go back to sleep. So I'd sleep from like, I would try to get in bed at 9:30. I would wake up around like midnight-ish, sometimes like 1 a.m. I would play some video games, take some supplements, which, again, if anyone wants, I can go more in depth on this later. And then I would usually go back to sleep around 2:30 to 3 up until like 6:30 or 7. And so that would stimulate the brain. One thing that this does for lucid dreamers is when you wake up in the middle of the night, it gives your brain some actual stimuli, so your dreams are going to be more vivid and colorful just by default. And then, you know, I would do a bunch of dream drugs. Ooh, you ever do dream drugs, by the way? Like, I mean, think about it this way. Like, so there's drugs, which I'm on right now, and then there's dream drugs. Like, you can take a pill before you go to sleep, and then your brain will go like in your sleep, and you still sleep really good. Like, that's the thing. It's like your body is well rested, and your mind is off exploring La La Land. Think about it this way, folks. Again, lucid dreaming, huge fan here. I haven't talked about this in a while, so I'm just kind of, but, you know, like, literally, you are asleep for a third of your life. So, like, if you're living to 100 years old, which, let's be honest, you're motherfuckers, are you eating your vegetables? Because if not, you're not living to 100 years old. But if you're living to 100 years old, on average, you're going to be asleep around 30 to 35 years of your life. You're going to be spent going, right? So, that's a long fucking time. Now, imagine if you spent those fucking 35 goddamn years thinking about the world and the universe and everything around you. You'll go fucking crazy. That's why I'm the way that I am. I'm fucking absolutely insane. I'm crazy. I'm out of control. Right? But at least you'll fucking not waste your goddamn time. Fuck me. When sleep was divided into a 2-act play... Oh, they did something right. Almost every night when I wake up, I instantly chase him away with a fart. There you go. Shout outs to Martin Luther. Today's sleep writers often wield... I've never heard of Eckerich, so I'm just saying. Like, this guy's getting a puff piece. I've never heard of him, so I'm just saying. To suggest that cemented sleep, or as Eckerich called it, biphasic two-phase sleep, is old and one sleep is new. Therefore, today's sleepers are doing it wrong. But that's not the full story he told me. I would also make the same argument with breakfast. Breakfast was invented by cereal companies in the 1950s and 60s. They invented it. There's no such thing as breakfast. The most important meal of the day was a marketing campaign. You're being lied to. You're dumb. Pre-industrial sleep was nothing to romanticize. Death stalked our slumber for centuries. Late night crime was rampant, and the home itself was a death trap. As slapdash construction left houses vulnerable to fire, leaking roofs. There you go. I don't care about that. That makes, like, segmented sleep as humanity's natural habit, and that the Industrial Revolution and modern capitalism... What is this modern capitalism? You don't need to write that word. That's like me fucking writing an essay for goddamn school, and I would put in a bunch of unnecessary fucking language, right? Like, I'd put in, like, 15 fucking M-dashes and 39 commas just to make the fucking words look more modern capitalism as opposed to question mark. But humans have never had a universal method of slumber. A 2015 study of hunter-gatherer societies in Tanzania, Namibia, and Bolivia found that most foragers enjoyed one long sleep. 2 years later, another study found that a rural society in Madagascar practiced segmented sleep. 2 years after that, a study found that indigenous residents of Tana in the South Pacific largely had one uninterrupted sleep. My opinion is there is no normal, so do what works for you. Like, you know, you can read the rest of this if you want, but I'm more intelligent than whoever's, like, let's be honest here. Like, I'm just being 100% right now. Derek Thompson, like, I appreciate, you know, this article in The Atlantic. I don't have a job working at The Atlantic, so I can't put these ideas in the mainstream. But let's be honest, I know more about what's going on here than you do. So my thing is, like, if you find problems with sleeping in one way, like, change it up. I've changed up my sleep patterns a lot. Like, you can just do it. Like, I know, like, when you're working, if you have, like, a job or something, it's pretty rough. And I have the privilege of working from home. So, like, I don't have to worry about going anywhere without, like, proper sleep or whatever. But think about it this way. Most Americans are sleep deprived. If you're only sleeping, like, you know how people say 6 to 8 hours? Actually, 6 hours will fucking kill you. You will die, right? Because there's like this phenomena, like when daylight savings time happens or something, and you lose an hour of sleep, that there's more car crashes that week because people don't have, like, the sleep that they need or whatever, right? Like, that's just a statistic. Yeah, like, we've just decided as a society, yeah, we're gonna steal an hour of sleep from the average worker, and yeah, there's gonna be car crashes. This is a phenomenon that we've studied over the course of a couple years, right? Yeah, people are gonna die, more likely to die after daylight savings time, but it's whatever. We'll still fuck with the clocks and have fun with that. Literally, think about it this way. Daylight savings time kills people. It actually kills people, and yet we do it anyway. Again, the sleep habits of the average American are fucking fucked. And they're not fucked in the good dick way, right? Because if they were being fucked in the good dick way, then no one would have a goddamn problem. But they're fucked in the bad dick way, and that's by this goddamn bullshit called modern, aka just capitalism, motherfucker. So in my opinion, I've changed my sleeping habits a lot. I've done biphasic sleeping. I've done all forms of polyphasic sleeping. I've tried the Uberman schedule before, which is where you take, like, like 10, 20-minute naps or some shit throughout the day. And like the whole idea is that like, yeah, I think it was like Leonardo da Vinci was an Uberman or some shit. One of those like one of those painters was an Uberman. Sleep 20 minutes every once in a while. Because like, you know, the way sleep is fascinating. I mean, I could do a long I used to do, at least I planned on doing an entire show on dreaming and sleep, but I didn't do that. I'm sorry, but maybe I will if people want me to do so. But anyway, yeah. So sleep is a thing that you should definitely look into. A lot of people, like, again, do you ever think about your sleep habits? Do you ever think about your eating habits? Like, think about it. You are an American, all right? You're a dumb fuck motherfucker, right? By default, you have been programmed over the course of the first 20 years of your life to be a stupid cock-sucking loser, all right? Now, that's not to say that sucking cock makes you a loser. I think sucking cock is a very valuable thing for society, but you know, that being said, I am going to use it as, because it's just profanity and I like profanity. So again, you spent your first 20 years being lied to, being programmed by people that want to kill you and your entire family. Think about it that way. The capitalists in this country, the owners of this country, want you to die before you're 65. That way they can't pay out those social security checks. Well, I should say they don't have to, and they can scrape in that fucking money in their fucking corporate coffers, right? So they want you to die before 65. So they've organized a society of schools that lie to you, schools that don't treat you, you know, as a human being, but as a fucking drone, as a product. They set you up for the real world, quote unquote. They set you up how to work in the real world. They don't set you up how to take care of your body. How to take care of your body. That's not taught in school. You ever think about that? Like, the closest thing we have is like, oh, gym class, where you run around and climb a rope for like 10 minutes. Yeah, that's going to take care of your fucking body. What we need to know is how our body fucking functions, why our body does the things that it does, how we, like, what foods regulate what parts of the body, how, like, stimuli affects the brain and consciousness, and how dreams work. That would be amazing. Imagine if we spent the first 20 years of our lives, like, learning about how the human experience works. Imagine if we spent the first 20 years of our lives learning about being a human being. Imagine what that would do for fucking society. If everyone knew how to sleep in the best way imaginable, if everyone knew how to eat in the most efficient way imaginable, imagine the fucking life expectancy of this goddamn country, or this goddamn fucking population, of this fucking species. If capitalism wasn't the dominant way that we organize our fucking society, we could probably be living to 500 like those motherfuckers in the goddamn alien shows. You know which one I'm talking about. Just kidding. They're all doing that because they're fucking aliens, motherfucker. They're flying through the goddamn sky. You think they still have problems sleeping, or they have problems with their diets when they're flying through the goddamn outer space? No, that's why they live so long, you motherfucker. But anyway, I'm going a little crazy here, so I'm gonna end this segment here. Shout outs to Biphasic Sleeping. So there you go.